Hi everyone. The TD Ottawa Jazz Festival would like nothing more than to welcome you to our main stage at Confederation Park, downtown Ottawa. That's our home. But as we all know, that's not going to happen. So we've got the next best thing and are bringing the music to you through a series called Tenacity, which will unfold every day for the next 10 days and will feature some of the brightest and most unique artists from all over the world. You'll get to meet and hear artists from Berlin, New York, Boston, Vancouver, Ottawa, Serbia, and other places. This series is different. This series is Jazz Today. It's vibrant, courageous, tenacious, and masterfully original. Thanks for joining us. This is Jazz in 2020.
Good evening and welcome to OLG Chats. I'm James Hale from Downbeat Magazine, and each day of Tenacity, I'll be talking to some of the incredible improvisers who will be sharing their music with us. And this evening, something really special. And I'm suggesting right now that you want to run out and put on something red and white because we're going to make a deep, deep dive into Canadiana tonight. Christine Jensen is from Nanaimo, BC, and has been a cornerstone of Montreal's jazz scene for years. And if that is not Canadian enough, just check out who she has in her 10-piece band this evening. On trumpets, Christine's big sister Ingrid from her home in upstate New York, and Brad Turner from Vancouver. On trombones, Jean-Nicolas Trottier from Montreal, and Audrey Ochoa from Edmonton. On saxophones, Shirantha Beddage from Toronto and Phil Dwyer from BC. On piano, originally from Germany, but now based in Canada, Florian Hoefner. On bass, Mike Downs. And on drums from Toronto and the band Snarky Puppy, Larnell Lewis. This is C2C, the Both Sides Now Tentet, and joining me now is arranger and bandleader Christine Jensen. Hello, how you doing?
Good, thanks.
We haven't seen each other in quite a while. Well, you haven't seen anybody in quite a while, but we haven't seen each other in quite a while.
It's true. Zoom is where my new couch is, I guess.
So how has your lockdown been? The homeschooling and all the rest.
Gosh, every week is seems like there's some new what going on. What? Okay, I'm going to tackle this new way of life. Yeah, it's been good. It's in a way it's been very good. My daughter, I've sent her and Joel off to New Brunswick. So they can be outside of the city while I do some more work. But she is just, I don't know, she really liked being at home. Mm-hmm. She's 9. She thought it was great to stop school. But she didn't. We kept at it a little bit. It was definitely, I have a deep appreciation for all school teachers. Deeper than it used to be, and my parents were both teachers, so wow, hats off.
Yeah, it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was wondering, is there anyone in this band, in this tentet that you've got tonight that you haven't worked with before?
Yeah, Florian he lives in St. John's, Newfoundland, and he's a professor now at Memorial, I think. I've heard his music. I have actually heard him live, and I was like, I have got to work with him at some point. And this was the perfect place to start because I really wanted to get someone, when I was discussing the personnel, to get someone from the Maritimes that would add to this. And he extends to Europe and he extends to American jazz as well. So. And then maybe Shirantha too. I don't think I've played with him and Larnell, but everyone else I think. Oh, and Audrey, of course. Now I'm thinking about it. It's so weird to do it.
I've never met anyone in this band except my sister.
I have Brad and Phil and Ingrid and Mike. But no, it's weird because I feel like I know them, and I've played with them, but I haven't. And that was the beauty of the start of this project.
Mm-hmm. Also wondered, I don't think I've ever asked you this, as an arranger, do you tend to work in the style of, Duke Ellington and Rhea Schneider, where you write things with specific players in mind, or is it less specific for you? I mean, I know you and Ingrid have a tight bond and you do a lot of stuff together, but in general terms as an arranger, how do you address those kinds of things?
I wish I could just pull off a Duke Ellington. I can't. Which is why I do what I do. So I think it depends on the situation, and for me, this is like, first time voyage on the Star Trek Voyager.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of played it safe, I think, and I also was on a time limit, so I just felt like I scratched the surface of this idea of what all these musicians can do, because they're all extraordinary soloists. So to find enough time for each of them was just a start. It feels like it's the start of a suite or something, because it was introducing all of them as soloists, but I definitely, I would say, if there's someone I mostly think about, it's Gil Evans, with my thoughts on the sounds.
So you mentioned to me that you have some previous experience with Joni Mitchell. You played in an ensemble when she was receiving an honorary degree at McGill. Is that right?
Yes, my tumultuous revisit to McGill to get my master's. I was part of the degree is checking off the box of being in jazz orchestra, which I'm now the artistic director of this jazz orchestra. But at the time, the director, Gord Foote, said, "Oh, anybody that wants to contribute an arrangement of Joni's music, we need to do a concert for her." And it's like, really? Joni's going to sit in the audience? Joni sat in the audience. So I did Dry Cleaner from Des Moines. I don't know if I used vocals, actually. I can't remember what I did. I remember it definitely wasn't a highlight. I actually went and redid it later, and I'm a little happier with it now. But so we all the students contributed arrangements, and some professors. And after that, she came up to give her speech, and we're like, "Oh, it was amazing, so much work." And she was just like, "Nice try." Sort of like to the whole thing. So it made me go, "Yeah, I'm a student. I'm a student forever, though."
So you didn't go and have a cigarette out with her later on?
She had cigarettes all through the reception inside
Well, of course
the
she did.
McGill back wherever they have the receptions next to the concert hall. She's probably the only person that's been allowed to smoke in there since 1970 or something.
Yeah.
That was what, 2006, 2005, I don't know. But yeah, she was amazing, though. It doesn't matter. It was just amazing to be with her and to meet her. And
for sure. So what was it about Both Sides Now that attracted you to use in this particular project?
Well, we were talking about something Canadian. I like it. It's kind of like I get given some juicy bits to work with when someone asks me to do something. So Peter was artistically directing me on this one.
Peter Kankura.
Peter Kankura, who's so awesome. And he said, something. We were kind of going through a few things, and I just was like, you know what? This was at the beginning of the pandemic, and the person I've most related to with music at that time was Joni's music. There's just something where she captures being in the moment and being having solace with things, I guess. And she's an icon, and I want to continue working on her music, not with vocals, because there's all these melodies that are just as important to me, and sometimes the vocals outweigh the melody, and the melody outweighs the vocals, with a lot of great people like her. I don't know how to describe it, but it is really difficult to make an instrumental out of her music, and so I like that challenge too, and to capture the real essence of her idea of landscape.
Yeah, and everybody's gone at it. Everyone who's interpreted her music from a jazz perspective, whether it be Dave Douglas or other people, have sort of taken different aspects of it, haven't they?
Yeah, like Herbie and Dave and the Vince Mendoza orchestrations that go in front of her music on. I have the album here. I'm spacing right now. travelogue. Like
Mm-hmm.
those are, I think it's really they've done an amazing job of realizing how universal her music, bringing the universality of her music to the instrumental. And to me, it's also a fantasy. It's like I take a little bit of something she has, like the essence, and then expand it into my world. So that might be what you'll hear.
Yeah. Well, let's go a bit into your process. How do you approach voicing a song that begins with just a singer and a guitar? In this particular case, did you begin with the melody or the harmony, or do the lyrics spark something in you? Like, what's your starting point, and how do you go from there?
I think the starting point is the melody. With me on this one, it's a beautiful melody. It's got like this huge width in it, and all those things it just captures such this her thing is just so unique in terms of outlining a really strong harmony in the melody too,
Mm-hmm.
like triadic or arpeggiated. And to me, that right there's like a couple things I can grab onto and then go do my spin on it. But if you look at her, it goes, what is it? How does that work? The lyric, the refrain, the verse. Sorry, verse, refrain, verse, refrain. I think that's like a constant thing. But
Mm-hmm.
for me to take it, I just probably didn't expand on that as much as opposed to contracting it. So you'll hear the melody of the verse twice, and then we're going to leave. And this is where I really get into Gil Evans. I did a pretty big study on Birth of the Cool and how it's called recomposition, where he just leaves what's going on and has very little reference to the I guess traditional material that's there, and then come back and do the refrain and then see where it goes from there. So
Mm-hmm.
it's just one time through as opposed to her going 5 or 6 times and hearing these prolific lyrics. Yet the lyric is what created the piece too. Ice
Right.
cream castles in the
Mm-hmm.
sky. I forget what it is, but I'm a terrible person when it comes to melody and lyrics because I always, if you had like I don't know, a gauge, my gauge goes over to the melody and the lyrics over here and I don't come in between. I'm just like, oh, this is so good over here. I can't even listen to this, yet it's so prolific. So I'm not the person that memorizes lyrics as much as I think about melodies.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you mentioned Gil Evans. I mean, one of the things my go-to right away when I think about Gil Evans is the subtle voicings, the colors when the music is played. I had a chance a number of years ago, and this involves Ingrid in San Francisco, to watch Maria Schneider uh, conduct the band in San
Mm-hmm.
Francisco with Ingrid as the soloist on some Gil music. And like, she worked for a couple of hours in sound check just getting the horns to tilt a certain way. So I mean, when you're working remotely, how do
I
you overcome
couldn't do
those
that.
challenges?
It's not gonna happen this time. You know that this is the sort of the new frontier,
Hmm.
I guess. Everything I'm wanting to happen needs to be preconceived and um, I guess communicated through the pages or through hopefully nuance of what I'm trying to say to the musicians. And this is where the trust really came in with the musicians. For me, I really wanted that team of Larnell and Mike together because they work together a lot
Hmm.
and they know where I'm coming from with my sort of take of what I want to happen.
Right.
So what you're saying, I mean, after I heard it, I wish I could go back and rewrite the whole thing. But there's a point in it's kind of like if you're writing an article, you wish you could have redone an article, but it's actually really fine
Hmm.
and strong
Yeah.
how it is. But there could be a whole other way that it could have been presented.
Hmm.
And I feel like this process of time of layering the musicians uh, did not give me as much of a chance to talk about those details you just mentioned that you can do live. And if I could have, I think we could have probably, you would hear just a completely different take than what you're going to hear through what we just did.
It sounds like you keep teasing us with this may be your next project. Is that
well? I mean, I really
realistically in your mind?
I felt like I felt a burden with this project when I started. I was like, what did I just say yes to? This is really difficult to imagine. Even though we have all this great technology now, I can put all the notes and hear my fake instruments back, and it's still not the same as being in a room with the musicians. We could have done this in probably a half-hour rehearsal as opposed to going through the huge process of bouncing tracks back and forth across the country.
Mm-hmm.
It could have been in a city. It could have been on my street, for that matter. But the fact is, it's all through the digital transfer of our hopefully really organic setting.
So I wondered about that process, because by this time we deep into the pandemic, we've all experienced some type of remote ensemble, whether it be a classical orchestra or a choir. What was the process in making all the pieces go together and keeping them together? Was there a lot of post-production, or is it that the arrangement is that locked down going into it?
The arrangement got pretty locked down. In fact, it got locked down once I put the first track down. That was the hardest track to do, which was the bass. And Mike was very generous with me. I think he spent the most time with me, having to set it all up so it all lines. I mean, there's this magic to the video post-production, right?
Mm-hmm.
But we also had to all do our own individual videos, which is cool because you get to see everybody in their home environment now. This never happened before to this level. Like, I'm thinking back to when the pandemic started and Lady Gaga sat at her piano and did something with a piece, but you could tell it was like she was not used to this, as were so many people. They did a great job, but it was kind of on the fly, and 2 or 3 months in, we're already all getting much more professional. So even just writing that chart, I'm like, oh, if I could go back and I could do things a little differently, I would. But that's the magic of jazz too, because I know that the musicians I'm working with are going to take the music to a higher level than I put on the paper anyway. That's always my go-to. Yeah.
My favorite one so far is Bruce Springsteen hosted a benefit for New Jersey first line workers on television, and there was a young musician, probably early 20s, who did a Springsteen piece, which is got to take some nerve, right, to play Springsteen's music to Springsteen. And he was playing in his bedroom, and he'd sort of made his bed, but there was a pile of dirty clothes on the floor behind him. Very cute.
I know, it's like it's a crazy turnaround. I mean, I'm totally set up different than when I started doing that piece too. First of all, we had like everybody working at home and my daughter doing piano lessons and everything off of one computer. And now I feel like it's a little calmer, and we've all got a hang of our territories in the house and what is professional and what is not. But if you saw my floor right now, you would see all my taxes over there and all this stuff. It's like top up.
Well, you don't want to see the rest of my office either. So we're going to get ready to show this thing, but I want to ask you, is there anything particular you want to direct our attention to? Anything that
I just want to direct our attention to the amazing musicianship and the amazing spirit of jazz, and that we are able to capture it. It's just a different process right now. Hopefully it's temporary, although I think we've also learned that there's other things we can do. So that's something to think about with this. There's also these incredible animations going on. And so there's a lot of activity that you're going to hear and see as well as hear. But I can't wait to see all my friends and what they've done with this music.
All right. Well, let's raise that maple leaf high and enjoy C2C, the Both Sides Now Tentet. Thanks so much, Christine, for taking the time to do this.
Thank you, James.
All right, let's listen to it.
Music brings us together even when we're apart. That's why we're so proud to support Canadian music through events like the TD Ottawa Jazz Festival. It's just one more way that the TD Ready commitment is building a more inclusive tomorrow. Enjoy the show.
Ah, it's beautiful. You've been listening to C to C, the Both Sides Now Tentet, featuring Christine Jensen, Ingrid Jensen, Brad Turner, Jean-Nicolas Trottier, Audrey Ochoa, Phil Dwyer, Shirantha Beddage, Florian Hoefner, Mike Downs, and Larnell Lewis. We're here every evening until June 28th, and tomorrow we hope you join us again for another large ensemble, this time the Prime Rib Big Band with the very special guest saxophonist Joel Fram. They'll be joining us here at 7 p.m. Eastern Time tomorrow. That's all for this evening. I'm James Hale. As always, stay cool and keep supporting the music. Good night.